What's up, guys? Today I'll be talking, discussing, speculating, etc. on 656 and 655 of Naruto. Now, these chapters were um, quite different. The first chapter, 655, was definitely a very slow chapter, and it was all about the theme of how Naruto is like the hope and the guy who will not fail when the others have failed. And it's pretty much just Obito questioning like why can Naruto do this when so many else have failed, and pretty much them saying that there's still a chance that Naruto might fail, but he has certain things like his ability to never give up and his drive of like making friends that gives him a greater chance of succeeding. How will he actually accomplish this? I don't know, because quite honestly, the others that came before him, especially Obito, which was technically Madara's plan, those were actually concrete plans that could theoretically solve everything, although in a twisted way by pretty much putting everyone in Genjutsu. Naruto, again, from a logical standpoint, um, quite frankly, he will probably defeat all these villains, but is he smart enough to come up with a plan to solve all this? Um, and you'll see in real life. I mean, the same sort of thing happens with wars and people believing different things, and it hasn't been solved. So how can this dunce Naruto, who has already shown in the last dozen chapters how foolish he can be at times and how he doesn't think things through, and then ends up saying, "Oh, I forgot about that." Obviously, it was done in comic relief. It was done for comic relief, and this is a cartoon, so I probably shouldn't take it so seriously. But at the same time, Nagato, uh, otherwise known as Pain, and Obito, they both had plans, I believe. Pain's plan was, um, that was so long ago, I can't remember, but I think Pain had an idea of how to prevent pain. Um, all these ideas were sort of flawed in certain ways, but um, Madara's came closest in a certain way, putting everyone in Janjutsu. Um, so I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with that, because I mean, what if Naruto just defeats all these villains, and then he's like, and I'm hoping this doesn't happen. He just becomes Hokage, and then the series ends, because that really doesn't answer the entire series worth of questions. Most likely, they will find some sort of solution that will somehow end all wars from now on, all forms of bullying, persecution, prejudice, discrimination, bias, any sort of fighting or injustice, etc., etc. Somehow, all of that will be ended at the end of this series. Most likely, it will be a solution. It will be the author's attempt to create a solution for all of this that won't be perfect and will still have flaws. Because why? Because there isn't a perfect solution. In real life, we have yet to find one. Um, it's just down to, like, if you look at religion itself, there's so much fighting and wars going on because of religion, and these are just irreconcilable beliefs that pretty much are the root of the problem. And these beliefs clash and they're contradictory, and that's kind of why it's sort of unsolvable in certain ways. And so let's move on to 656, the latest chapter of Naruto, just released. This chapter was much faster paced, a lot more meat, a lot more info. Each panel actually meant something. The chapter before was very slow. And so it starts off with the light, which was what the last chapter ended on. Basically, you see Obito looks up, and then like on top of this like cliff, there's this bright shining light, almost like a star. And the page I read, it was actually colored, so it really looked like a shining star on top of this cliff. And it was, the whole thing was to personify the idea that, yeah, this is a guy. Naruto is the star, and he's going to be the star in all of this, all of this darkness, and that is what we look to believe, to put our beliefs towards, and basically all this like la-di-da-di hope stuff. And it was somewhat inspirational. On the other hand, the practical side of me, the pragmatic side, is a little concerned how exactly he is going to solve all this. And let's say he does fail. If he does fail, is it worth it? In certain ways, people could argue yes. Even if he does fail, after defeating all these villains, and he doesn't achieve some sort of perfect world where there is no wars, one could argue that's still much better than a fake drone-like dream world where everyone's under genjutsu, controlled by Madara. Which leads us to this chapter, and let's just focus on some major points for this chapter. Obito, first off, he is about to use the same technique that Nagato / Pain used, I think, upon his death. Now, let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe what this technique does is it's a revival technique, or it can be used for other means, but basically it's a ninjutsu that crosses on the other border, which is life and death. So it can be used to revive people or potentially kill people or do other things. And so this is one of the two that are really freaky. The other is space-time, and I think there's one more, black and white ninjutsu, which was only briefly mentioned, and I feel like that's like on another level. But anyhow, he's about to use this, and I'm thinking to myself, dang, so he's gonna go out the same way Nagato went out, sacrificing his life, because it cost a life to use, sacrificing his life in order to aid Naruto again along his path. I'm pretty sure the author of Naruto is starting to make things up as he goes, because the plot is just like, it doesn't seem like it's pre-planned or structured. And the biggest reason is because of Obito just being defeated like that, for all the beasts to just be pulled out and him to die like that. I didn't like. It was just too sudden, not really thought out well. Like, I very much would rather have some sort of longer, drawn out sort of thing, or maybe him not going out this way, or at least having the beast still inside of him. However, I get proven wrong, because now we do see something more. So apparently what's going on is, remember Black Zetsu, which is pretty much like a animated clay version of Obito. Anyhow, we see a Black Zetsu come on out and overtake Obito before he's able to complete his ninjutsu. Now what this does, and before anyone can react, or maybe, well, the thing is, this was over several pages, and of those pages we see like multiple panels of, at least 2 panels of Naruto's dad Minato and Kakashi just staring and saying, "Whoa, what's going on?" When they could have at least attempted to prevent this. Maybe they didn't know what to do, because the Black Zetsu had sort of turned into like a liquid form that was wrapping himself completely around Obito, similar to the Black Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3, the film. And and so, long story short, he gets overtaken. Some sort of life transfer ninjutsu happens, which seems like it's not really explained. But what seems to have happened is now Obito is dead, and now once Obito had died, um, Madara is now completely human again. So he's gone back from his Edo Tensei form to completely human, and he pretty much like it seemed for a second, just for a second, that it was coming to an end. Obviously, we had Madara left to deal with, but they also did a really good trick. Obviously, Madara was still at like full health, not really that damaged, still in the fray of all this, and the author sort of just said, he made it seem in this chapter that it was everything was coming to an end. Madara was also captured, but really that wasn't ever the case. It seemed for a second that Gaara was coming in with his new enhanced form of a sealing technique, along with all the other tail beasts, in order to seal Madara. And then they have Sai already trying to seal Madara, and the first Hokage saying, all we need to do is wait for a good sealer to come and finish him off. And that wasn't the case. So, long story short, Madara says, now I can fight at full power. My first question is, I thought you already were at full power. As soon as you broke yourself free of Edo Tensei, I thought he mentioned that he was now at full power or something like that. Apparently not. So what this implies is that Edo Tensei places a restriction because of its nature, which means that they can only perform at a percentage of their power level. And then the final panel is Madara, and he's flesh. He's full flesh now. None of that cracked skin stuff from the Edo Tensei. So now he's like, now I can fight at full power. And then like the things that were binding him just break completely. So now he's on another complete level. And this war has simply become Madara versus the world. That's pretty much what it is. The winner gets to decide what's going on. Now everyone's probably saying, dang, Madara is so strong. He took on the 5 Kages. He wasn't at full power. Now he's broken free of Edo Tensei. And there's a lot I could bring up, but I'm just going to bring up 2 things. The first is, Madara did die. He used that sort of technique to extend his life expectancy until he was like an old fart man. But he ended up dying. He passed his will on to Obito, who followed it up until a point where he betrayed Madara and took the Sage of Six Paths for himself. Why did he do that, by the way? That's a good discussion to bring up. Why did he betray Madara and take up the Sage of Six Paths and become the Jinchuriki of the Biju at the last second? I think it was because he knew that Madara was not to be trusted, similar to how Sasuke knew Orochimaru wasn't, and he betrayed him at the last second, similar to what Sasuke did, and because he knew he might just be executed or killed off afterwards, or he thought, you know what, I'm taking this in order to just wreak havoc and have this power and, you know, cause a lot of pain before Madara finishes it up with the blooming flower. We don't know. However, Madara seems to have, like, it all makes more sense now, because I remember in my last video on Madara, I noted how he didn't even react. He just said, interesting. Like, he wasn't shocked or angry or anything when the Jinchuriki got passed on to Obito at the last second rather than Madara. Perhaps he thought, oh, it's not a big deal. All I have to do after Obito wipes out everyone is just weaken Obito, which he was very confident in doing, and then just taking everything back. So my prediction is that now Madara's full power, flesh form, and by the way, since he did die, since Madara did die, did he not learn or reflect or like really gain any truth from the afterlife? Apparently not. He's still the same guy. Or maybe that's just not to be discussed. Anyhow, finally what happens is, I think what's gonna happen is Madara's gonna be super strong now, and he is going to be able to handle everyone. He's pretty much versus every ninja and samurai, plus the tailed beast in the Naruto universe, save for a few. And it's pretty much 1 versus thousands. And there's a good chance that Madara could win, which is kind of scary. Now, it has to be brought up. Does this logically make sense? No, because quite honestly, Madara was never that strong. And it's quite sad to if he was that strong, that's pretty much saying that every generation after Madara's generation, they just got weaker and weaker and weaker, to the point when 5 Kage of the current generation, all 5 Kages together could not beat out a weakened version of Madara, which was what happened. And that could honestly be the case. And I mean, with every sort of plot hole in manga, I feel like any plot hole in manga can be explained with just a very elaborate, intricate, detailed explanation. And so I would say that's what could have happened, because what we do know is that Madara and the first Hokage, Hashirama, fought multiple times throughout their lifespan, and Hashirama almost always won. And in their final fight, Madara lost, and he was severely weakened and crippled permanently because of that fight, but he survived and was able to take Hashirama's cells. So my explanation for that, because some people might be saying, alright, Madara's power level, even at max, can't equate to Hashirama's power level. Why are they having such trouble fighting one foe? Like, this whole arc is now based on one villain. Thousands, the entire universe, hundreds of chapters of history of characters are all combining together in this 5-nation army to take on this one person. My answer to that is Madara, having survived that final fight, despite him being crippled, he used Hashirama's cells to enhance himself. So now he is a stronger version of himself at his prime, because now he has Hashirama's cells to multiply his power. On top of that, it should be noted that Madara probably lived longer than Hashirama, because Hashirama was revived Edo Tensei, and he was always young. He was always depicted very young, black hair and stuff. We're assuming he somehow died in combat, maybe not due to old age, maybe, just maybe. Yeah, and that's another question to bring up, like, how did he die? Maybe Hashirama died because there was an even greater army out there that beat out Hashirama in some sort of war that took on later, and that killed him in his youth. Because when he was revived with Edo Tensei, we had first Hokage, Hashirama, who was youthful in appearance. And then we have the fourth or the third Hokage, who looks really old when he's revived with Edo Tensei. So that's something to bring up. Again, it's getting more intricate than it has to be. I don't even think the authors really thought about this. It's truly just a plot hole. But everything can be explained with enough elaborate, intricate explanation in a roundabout way. And so, long story short, Madara lived potentially up until like 100 or 150 due to his sort of, it was like some sort of weird enhancement. I think uh, it was like the primitive form of the Biju before all of the tailed beasts were added to it, and he hooked that up to himself, and it was like pumping in chakra to himself to keep him alive or something like that. He had to be hooked up to it. So he was like 150 years old. He had some freaking scythe in his hand. Most likely what happened was he retreated to his cave, and long story short, he has maybe 75 plus years of training on after that last fight with Hashirama. And then he pretty much died and told Obito to revive him. And now he's got this whole thing planned where he's like, I'm going to use this black Zetsu. Like this chapter is pretty much saying that he had planned this from the start. I'm going to use this black Zetsu, and I'm going to once it's time, once I get revived and he comes of age and he revives me, I'll use this black Zetsu to take over him, use the body transfer technique to make me real again. By the way, maybe not, because I think the initial arrangement was to have Pain revive him into his flesh form, but that screwed up because Naruto got Pain to betray them and use the revival technique to revive everyone that was killed. And so this was maybe just a backup plan. And so it's worked. We have a new and improved, stronger form of Madara. And this is something never seen before. Because usually, villains in series, they have other villains, even in the same arc. So it's not just like one versus millions or one versus thousands of ninja. We'll see how it goes. Madara seems to be pretty darn happy though. He's like, I can't thank you enough, Naruto. Now you've done some of my work for me. And so what I'm assuming is he's just going to get stronger. Most likely he's going to bounce from that location, somehow suck up all the nine-tailed beasts after they had just been taken out. Or he's just gonna get that plant to bloom, because that's all he really needs. He needs that plant to bloom. He doesn't really need anything else, and it's almost there. So whatever he has to do to get that plant to bloom. And my prediction for the series as a whole, obviously, I mean, this is a point that's constantly brought up. Oh, don't worry, the main character Naruto will win and defeat all his foes, because that's the name of the manga. You can't kill off the title of the manga. You can't kill off the main character. Blah 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 blah. And quite honestly, I feel like the author's under a lot of pressure, just like Harry Potter was. The Harry Potter series, I mean, Harry Potter's the main character. That's what the series is called. J.K. Rowling probably had a lot of pressure on herself not to kill off Harry at the end of the last book. But it is their choice, and I am at least hoping for a less predictable ending to the series. It definitely seems to be coming to an end. And if you guys want to see my history video on what Naruto meant for me, that's under my channel. But yeah, I know people who are now graduated college, who have been reading Naruto since middle school. That's how crazy it is. Peace out, and as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe is completely free for more videos. And leave a comment if you watched all 25 minutes of this. That'd be great. Peace.